Was this a good ass episode? Another goated ass episode, man. Dude, all right. How much more can I freaking say about this show, bro? This show is so good, man. It's so good. And I definitely can't wait to see what's gonna happen next, bro. Every time I keep watching this show, I just have a big smile across my face because of how much I really do love these characters. Like, I love these characters. After today, like, I love Subaru's character. You know, it's already good enough that I love Rintaro and Karuko's character, bro. But man, this episode was just good. Just good from the standpoint you get that heart-to-heart moment between Karuko and Subaru. Basically, Karuko admitting that she's in love with Rintaro. And I guess at the same time, even Rintaro kind of admitting he has feelings for Karuko because look, bro, ain't no way you're gonna say no. I'm gonna keep seeing this girl. I'm gonna keep seeing this guy if you don't like them in some sort of way, right? But we got left off on the cliffhanger where Subaru called Karuko to meet up and talk, and basically, we got the cliffhanger saying that, hey, I met up with Samugi, right? So she says, so we pick up right where we last left off from last week, and she's like, look, I met up with Samugi, and I basically, told him to stop seeing you. And that's when she just lets it all out, and she's like, I'm sorry, and everything, right? And we kind of get some, in background, information from this because, in a way, she feels guilty. So we see like the guilt of doing that and then just keeping it a secret to Karuko. That's been eating away at her because she legitimately, I guess you could say, well, yes, she went behind her friend's back, talked to this guy that she knows her friend likes a lot, and she basically told said guy, hey, I want you to stop seeing my friend. And she held that in, and she never told Karuko, like, oh yeah, I met up with your friend, the dude that you like, and I told him to stop seeing you, right? And again, this was eating at her, and it was eating at her all the times they went to school together, at this point, since that point on, and she felt really, truly guilty. And obviously what a good friend would do is they just tell the truth, be like, look, man, I didn't mean anything by it, but I just can't hold it in, right? Now, Karuko, she, looks at this, but she surprisingly says she's sorry and she apologizes, right? And this is getting Subaru emotional. She's like, but why is she apologizing to me? Like, if anything, I did something wrong. And it kind of gets down into a breakdown, the fact that kind of ever since they kind of first met, Subaru's kind of feels like she's been a burden on Karuko because she sees Karuko as this, happy-go-lucky girl, this very positive mindset, forward-thinking girl, and she's always happy. And Subaru feels like a part of her brings her down because she's a little bit more gloomy. She's kind of more recluse and keeps to herself. But I think that's mostly because she feels like this because she hasn't had a true friend, like Karuko. Because again, we see in the flashbacks how she got bullied by other people, especially because of the color of her hair. And Karuko was always there with her, and we see like they've been childhood friends since then. I think one of the funniest moments is where, because Karuko's like, "Hey, you remember that time when we were kids and I was on the monkey bars and I just fell down?" Like legitimately, like we see a flashback where she's on the monkey bars, like hanging upside down or something right there, and she literally, I'm just like, oh, she face plants herself. I'm like, are you fucking serious? What are we doing here, bro? And it's funny because Karuko's like, yeah, it actually hurt. Yeah, I would think that would hurt. You face planted on your face. I kid you. The anime, the way they did it, she fucking dropped like a fucking rock, bro. And you could hear the smack. I'm just like, is she okay? Is she okay? Right? But Karuko basically, throughout this whole thing, because, Subaru's crying and everything, and obviously Haruko can tell, like, okay, she's getting really emotional, and she's basically like, look, you know, it doesn't matter, I always think you're the best, you're my friend. And Haruko basically said, look, we're always gonna be together, and I'm gonna make it to where at some point in your life you won't have to be looking the way you do, like as if you're a burden to me, because guess what? I love you for who you are, and I love the person who you are. And that was a great scene. The animation was absolutely crazy when she was going through on the slide, looking all happy and everything. That was great, right? So then Subaru obviously appreciates this and says, like, yes, I'll work on this and everything, right? And then that's when she asked Karako the question, and she's like, hey, about Sumugi. Um, do you like him? Right? And Karako just grabs her, her arm, and yeah, she admits to it. She says, "Yes, I like Rintaro-kun." And she doesn't just say that. She literally says, like, "No, I love him." And I'm like, "Oh." Look, man, I'll take it, my guy. It's not in front of her, and it's not in front of him yet. Man's gonna be blown away when he finds that out, right? But the fact that Karako, like, mind you, they've only in this short amount of time now, which I would envision maybe at least been a few weeks since they first met each other, right? Since they first met each other, it's been a few weeks that had some encounters, some meetings and everything, that obviously the date, right? And bro, this girl has already got feelings for this dude, which it's adorable. If only romance was easy as that in real life, right? You could just meet up with a girl, talk with them for a bit, and you may not know anything to do with them. Then you just go out, and then boom, next thing you know, she's already like feeling the guy. In some cases, yes, that's the case, but I wish in other cases some women were not that hard to catch, right? Um, but you know, I just like that moment because it's basically Karako basically saying, like, yes, I know. And she does say in the episode, like, she does know of the fact of, like, the issues between the schools, and she understands that, but she's okay with it, and she still wants to continue meeting Rintaro. And the fact that even she admits the fact, like, no, I like him, aka technically, even though she says I'm in love with Rentaro, right? Even after, like, the not the many times, but the short times they met across each other, you could clearly see, like, she had a thing for him, especially after the moment, like, she wanted to help him out with the studying so then she could hear, how his sports days went. Like, legitimately, the moment she said, like, I would like to hear the stories about how your sports days went, like, she took an intrigue in him, and it's clear, like, at that point you could say she probably liked him, right? When did she, start having feelings for him? Who knows? I don't think it's from the first interaction they had, because if anything, it was like, oh, you didn't need to do all that and stuff like that for little old me. But then, the small little things of Rentaro basically kind of being respective to her and understanding, like, okay, look, I'll see you when I see you, but I don't want to make anything, bothersome and everything. But you could tell, like, every time she talks with him, she glows up, she gets flustered, but more importantly, she's happy, right? And, this is somebody that's bringing her happiness that, maybe she hasn't experienced with other people, right? And she enjoys being around his presence, and she wants to get to know him more and maybe even get him out of his shell, right? Because obviously, Rintaro is kind of a, closet kind of type of guy that stays close in, and maybe she wants to bring that out of him, and she's taking an interest in him, and she really feels like she can bring out the real Rintaro, which might be something she might even fall more in love with, right? But I did like that scene. It's pretty dope, man. It was a nice admittance of her, and it's nice to know that we're already fucking 5, 6 episodes deep in, and finally our main female character is not like struggling with her fucking feelings about does she like him or does she not like him, and it's that type of trope. No, she knows what she wants. She already basically said yes. I'm not gonna stop seeing him because I have feelings for this guy and I want to continue seeing him. And Subaru, when she hears that from Kaoruko, she's okay with that and she accepts the fact like, yes, okay, it's all right. You know, my friend is still gonna be my friend, but at the same time, she really likes this guy, and there's nothing I can do to stop that, and I'm okay with that, right? So we do come back to Rintaro, right? So Rintaro, obviously, because he's just, if you remember, he's had this guilt trip type of thing with the fact of like not telling Kaoruko about, you know, what Subaru said. So he's like, he gives her like a text, and he texts her like, "Hey, can we talk for a bit? I need to talk to you." Kaoruko gets the text. She's like, "Oh, Rintaro's just texted me," and he's like, "What the hell did I just do?" She immediately calls him. He's like, at first I thought she was gonna go to the bakery store. Nope, immediately calls her, and he's like, "Oh, hey, Kaoruko, how you doing?" And she's like, "Hey, you know, you wanted to talk to me? What's up?" And he's like, "Well, I just wanted to see if I could speak with Subaru. You know, there's something I need to talk to her about, something about, right?" And she's like, "Oh, Subaru's right here." And he's like, "Oh." Essentially, Subaru's like, "Yeah, what's up?" And he's like, "Hey, I wanted to speak with you and everything regarding, you know, when we last talked at the cafe." And that's when Subaru's like, "Meet me in the park tomorrow, right? And we can talk about it." Okay. So the next day, after school's over, they meet up, right? Now, I did like the fact that, you know, Rintaro was kind of aware of his surroundings. He's like, "Hey, you sure you want to be meeting up here? Especially with the fact that you're still in your school, you know, outfit and everything. I just don't want you, you know, to get caught by, you know, one of your staff members and then things get crazy, right?" And she's like, "No, it's okay, it's fine." But basically, this whole conversation is just from the standpoint, you know, he basically tells her like, "Hey, you know, I really, you know, feel guilty about the whole thing and stuff like that, about everything when it regards to what they said in the one little cafe area." And it's funny because Subaru's like, "Oh, you don't need to worry about that. She already knows everything." And he's like, "Wait, she knows?" And Subaru's like, "Yeah, she knows everything, so it's fine." Basically, Subaru does tell like, you know, Rintaro like, "Hey, you know, I'm fine with it. It's okay. I've talked with her about it. You know, it is what it is, right?" Oh, and then I also did forget to mention in that scene when when Subaru did tell Wagari about her feelings for Rintaro, Subaru did say like, you know, she's like, "Hey, when I told that to Samugi to tell him to stop seeing you, he said he didn't want to. He said he basically told me no, and he wanted to continue to still see her." And you saw the fact like her face obviously got red and everything. She started to get flustered, but you could tell like deep down she was happy that the fact like this guy really does want to keep seeing me, right? So I thought that was a dope moment too, right there. But anyways, the thing is, Rintaro basically went to Subaru because he's like, "Hey, you know, look, I understand you may not want me to see her, you know, but look, I'm still gonna see her regardless." And he actually asked her like, "Hey, you know, in your best opinion, where do you think would be a good time and a good place to always meet up and hang out with her, right?" So my man's already thinking basically, he damn near at this point is like legitimately probably asking her out on a fucking date, for crying out loud. Like that's what he's in. He probably is gonna be asking her out on dates. And he just wants to know, is like, "Hey, you know, with the fact that, you know, the schools are kind of beefing with each other, I want to make sure, you know, when we meet up, we're going somewhere where the schools can't find us for, you know, and can't see us hanging out." And, you know, Subaru was like, "Well, fine, as long as you're, you know, a good long distance away from the schools, you know, you should be fine and everything." But, you know, at some point, you know, that's kind of when they see this boy come in because Renzo gets kicked in the face by this soccer ball. And it's the same boy they saw in the cafe, right? And the boy's like, "Hey, oh, it's you two." And he's like, "Hey, are you guys friends?" And they're like, "Well, not really. And they're like, oh, well, you guys look like friends. Well, it was nice seeing you guys again. And basically they kind of established the thing where at some point Subaru, will be friends with Rintaro. Because she does ask him like, hey, you know, when I finally get over what I need to get over, and stuff like that, and I accept what I accept about myself, do you think you have it in your heart to be my friend? And it's basically kind of a good character building moment for Subaru because now she's actually going to be friends with a boy, because in her past, boys kind of teased her. Now she wants to basically open herself up a bit more and want to be friends with Rintaro. And I think at some point she's gonna want to be friends with the other boys in his group. Maybe also too, we see something where maybe there's a relationship that blooms with one of the friends. Probably the one redhead, dude, the redhead friend in Rintaro's group and her. I think that would make the most sense there. I don't know, but we'll definitely see. But it's cool to see that Subaru is wanting to open up, wanting to understand things and get better as a person on her own end, and even willingly be like, look, I know, this guy is from a different school, but if Kaoruko thinks he's a cool dude and I see that he's actually is a genuinely good dude, maybe I can be his friend too. So, there's that. But another great episode of Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity. Probably, honestly, my favorite episode so far of the show. So, yeah, but anyways, if you guys like the video, leave a like, put in the comment section your thoughts, hit that subscribe button if you want to get more Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity content or any other anime content I upload to the channel and things like that. But I'm gonna get out of here, guys. Catch you guys in this video. Till then, guys, stay safe out there. Have a great rest of your day or your night. I'm gonna end this video. Till then, guys, peace.